coming, the sun's zooming in, meltdown expected, the wheat is good there, engines stop running, but I have no fear, 'cause London is drowning. I live by the river.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 7th By the Minute podcast of the season. I am Matt H, and I'm joined by the bravely soldiering on through a cold, Matt V. Hello, Matt.
Evening. I'm not sure if I'm contagious over Skype, but if I am, I'm really sorry.
Well, I didn't even think of that. In the future, I'm sure that will be perfectly possible, but let's hope that's not the case now. Okay, so we have an international break coming up, which I'm sure everyone is delighted about. But before we get to that, let's go a quick review of the Arsenal games over the last week. So we last did one of these on Wednesday last week, and then that very evening we had our first home Champions League game of the campaign against Basel. I'm going to be glad when we don't have to play them anymore, so I don't have to worry about which way to say it. So, and a good result, particularly the first half. What did you think, Matt?
Yeah, there's obviously a danger when you have a big game against Chelsea. Obviously, all the fans are up for it, all the players are up for it, and there's danger of a bit of a hangover when the game doesn't seem as important in comparison. But I thought we started with the same intensity. The only real complaint you can have from the first half is that we didn't score more because we had so many chances. Theo Walcott, excellent again. And that first half, as you said in particular, won us a game. And in the second half, never really looked in danger. A nice, easy 3 points, which is always nice.
It is, isn't it? And it's nice to keep the things going on all the different fronts as well. I was covering it for By the Minute, and it was interesting that, maybe interesting isn't the right word, a 2-0, and like you say, strolling along, looking very good. But of course, Basel not completely terrible. They did have a couple of chances, and of course, then you realise that third goal, as to use the cliche, is always so important. But it didn't come, fortunately. But if Basel had got one, it would have been an interesting little test. But I'm being very picky there. What do we have with the lineup? We had Xhaka come in for Coquelin.
Yeah.
Which was expected, pretty much. There could have been some other options there, but he went with that. He seemed to fit in okay, and the only other change, I think, was, of course, Ospina coming in goal. So are we going to see... Sorry, I didn't sort of plan this as a random thing. Are we going to see Ospina... let me say that again. At what point will we see Cech in a Champions League campaign? Or maybe we won't, I don't know.
Yeah, strange. He did it. Wenger did it last season, didn't he? To not great success.
No.
I thought that might put him off, but I think the first Champions League game this year might have followed a game where Cech maybe didn't have a great one in the league. I'm not saying he's dropped, but maybe Wenger thought that was an opportunity to give Ospina games, and against PSG, Ospina had a great game. So probably merited a start again. I can't remember. Did we start either of those in the League Cup against Forest, or was that Martinez?
Oh, now you're testing me. I think it was Ospina, but somebody will tell me. I'll have a look at that. But I can't remember. Yeah,
he is the cup keeper. But then when we get to the later rounds, if we do, you'd hope that you play your first choice keeper. But in the past, we have stuck with our sort of cup keeper all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see which way that goes. I'll have a look for the lineup later on if I can find it. We had to play in yellow. That was the other little note I had, which is not particularly important, but it was one of the things because apparently Bowles' 2 away kits would both have clashed with our home kit. Or they're 2 kits they had, or whatever it was. Yes,
they should just have to. We should not home.
Sorry, I lost you a bit there. What was that?
I'm saying they should just be wearing bibs.
Yes, exactly.
Get the bibs out. We should not be wearing an away kit at home.
Or just shirt and skins. That would work for everyone.
Nothing wrong with that.
And there's a marketing opportunity there for somebody, to get tattoos on them somewhere.
Yeah,
that would certainly work.
Endless opportunities.
Yeah, there you go. Plenty of things there. I liked the consistency between the performances, obviously with the Chelsea game just a few days earlier, and the finishing from Walcott and Sanchez was fantastic as well. It's great to see the confidence in front of goal. that those two seem to be having at the moment, ignoring the fact that obviously the Burnley game wasn't quite as free-flowing. But up to that point, certainly, it was great to, Walcott's header, I mean, I'm not sure he'd have been running onto that a couple of seasons ago.
No, I don't know what he was doing over the summer, but clearly something very productive, because he has started this season probably one of our best players. Maybe he's got to that point in his career, realises sort of now or never with Arsenal. The fear of being linked with West Ham might have spurred him into action.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's not something anyone wants to hear. It was Martinez against Forest. I've just checked according to my little thing here. So, so certainly Ospina, the Champions League keeper, but that could get him into double figures in games if we make a bit of progress. But if not, I'm sure he'll come into some league games as well. But I suppose Cech, I'm fully aware he's younger than me, but I'm saying Cech is knocking on a little bit. Maybe there's an element there of wanting to keep him fresh. Yeah,
I reckon so. It's obviously a good problem to have. They're both very good goalkeepers, and there's not a huge weakness by playing either of them. It's just interesting to see when he picks one and not the other.
I suppose the thing, I mean, we're doing this, lots of people do different pods and write stuff about football and all the rest of it. There's perhaps a tendency to overanalyze, and I'm as guilty of that as anyone else, and you think, what's he done that for? What's going on there? We've joked about the kit. There'll be somebody taking that seriously somewhere as something to investigate, some UEFA conspiracy. But which maybe it is. Maybe we're the ones who are wrong. I mean, I didn't have anything negative to say about it. I just put this in the commentary. I didn't have anything negative to say. The only moment I can despite saying, a third goal might have made it tricky if it had gone to Basel, the only moment I can actually remember having a slight moment was, I think Mustafi went down towards the end after a foul on him, and just for a moment I had is he going to get back up kind of thing? Is this our first major injury for a while? But he was absolutely fine. But that was the only thing I can think of that caused any even mild panic on my part.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. The whole game was just sort of us attacking, at times not particularly clinical in the second half, but very solid defensively, so it didn't matter in the end.
Those early goals are so important, aren't they? I mean, I think we may have said the same thing about Chelsea, that whatever plans the other team has, if you get one, and then even more so if you get two and more, any plans they had go out the window if they were, I don't like to say parking the bus because that's a bit sort of simplistic, but if that was their plan, then that's gone. I mean, in Europe it's a bit different, I suppose. I can't imagine a team in the Champions League would be happy just sort of minimising the damage, but maybe. Basel didn't seem to play particularly defensively even after the goals had gone in, so I think that played into our hands a little bit. I would have liked to have seen a few more goals, particularly in that first half with that dominant spell, but maybe splitting hairs, I should say, a little bit. So we did have an interesting moment, of course, as well, because during the game, Ludogorets actually went ahead against PSG.
Yeah.
And for a moment, I was envisaging a nice clear lead at the top of the table, but obviously PSG came back, so we're level with PSG. We've got back-to-back games against Ludogorets coming up, with the home game first, if I remember rightly. So pretty decent spot in the group then. Not something we're particularly used to, I guess. There's always been a lot of pressure going into the last game for us, but at the moment it looks like all going to plan. Two very winnable games coming up, and then that will give us a good opportunity to really go for the PSG game at home, to try and top the group and help us in the next round, which as ever we need. As ever we do need, yeah. And that's a good point, actually, because playing what we assume, without being patronising, are the weakest team in the group to come. I mean, because I was looking at, I think we've got Basel away as the last game. And we really don't want to be going into that needing anything. So if we can, get 6 points from the next two games, that would be delightful. And I don't think I'm PSG are good, but I don't know if I would necessarily see them taking all six against Basel. So we'll have to see how it goes. But we pick that up after the international break, I think. The first game is back. So. very good performance. When they play so well, there's not much you can say, because it was a continuation of Chelsea. Everything was going well. Sanchez looking good, Walcott looking good, defence looking solid when they were required. I mean, that was the thing about Ospina. He didn't have to do anything very much, so not much he could do to prove himself. So let's move on to Burnley then. Whether it was some sort of tiredness on the part of the players, or one eye ahead to a break for a couple of weeks, it didn't seem to be quite the same free-flowing performance. Now, I have to make a confession here, which is that I haven't seen the game, and I still haven't seen the game. We're doing this on Monday evening, and I haven't had a chance to catch up yet because I was at the NFL at Wembley. So whilst desperately trying to get a signal and follow the result, I ended up celebrating the winning goal on Moore Park Underground Station, which caused someone next to me to jump a little bit. I apologise to them. But I have been able to catch up with some reports about it today, and obviously most people seem to be talking about the goal, and there seem to be three problems with it. So I wonder what you think about them, Matt. They are the time it was scored, the offside or not, and handball or not. Where are you with all that?
So we'll start with the time. Firstly, I thought 2 minutes added time was a bit of a shock. Not particularly because there was a lot of stoppages. It just, you sort of always assume 3 or 4. So that did panic me a bit. And then I think by the time we took the corner, we were probably 20 seconds over. But you expect the referee to sort of allow you to take the corner and then blow up after that. But we then took the corner short. And we probably couldn't have had any complaints if he blew up then. But we were lucky enough that he let us cross it in. By the time we scored, we probably were 30 or so seconds over. But yeah, one of those things. I'd probably be moaning if it was the other way around, but as it is, we'll accept it. The offside, I still don't think people really know, because at first it looked as though Oxlade-Chamberlain had booted it, sort of looked like it was going over, but booted it into Koscielny's arm in front of him.
Right.
But I think match of the day, they slowed it down, and Koscielny actually hit it into his own arm.
That seems to be what I read, yes.
Oxlade-Chamberlain sort of just kicked Koscielny's foot, in which case it's obviously not offside. And then handball, whoever it was that kicked it, it was sort of from half a yard, so it'd be very harsh to give that as handball. So with my incredibly biased opinion, it's a fair goal.
Well, you've summed it up perfectly there. I mean, the stuff, I will get around to watching it later, but the stuff I saw yesterday suggested that in terms of time, it was maybe only a little bit over 2 minutes, perhaps not as long as 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's a minimum anyway, so that didn't seem to be the huge bone of contention for some people. The offside, people didn't seem to, for exactly the reasons you've outlined, because it didn't seem to be like it was offside. And the hands, and again, there was an interesting thing online. I was looking at the Guardian site, and some people were saying, exactly like you've said, it was, a foot away. You can't possibly give that. And then other people the argument seemed to be essentially, I've seen them given. But of course, that doesn't necessarily mean they should have been given, and you know what people mean when they say that. But if I'm with you, if you get away with it, if to put it that way, then great, we'll take it. And you'd be irritated if it was against you, but I don't think I'd be out on the streets, with the flags out, just for that reason. So yeah, we'll take it. As far as I can see from what people have said, even I think people more independent than us, seemed to say that there was some controversy about it, but that perhaps it's one of those things that sometimes go for you and sometimes go against you, and we'll take it. And a 1-0 win away at Burnley is just particularly before an international break, is just the kind of thing you need to keep you going. Was there anything else in the game, as someone who saw it, compared, as opposed to me who has not yet seen it, it was worth comment?
The game wasn't great. We spoke about the intensity we started the Basel and Chelsea games with. That didn't happen here at all. I don't know if it is because we've sort of named the same starting 11, give or take a couple of players, for 3 or 4 games in the last couple of weeks.
I think so, yeah. Must be about that. Yeah.
So maybe it was fatigue, but we had a lot of possession, didn't really create a lot, but never particularly looked threatened at the back, apart from a spell, sort of 5 minutes in the second half, where Burnley sort of kept lumping crosses into the boxes, into our box, and we didn't deal with those very well. I think they hit the bar at one point.
Oh yes, I did read that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose in any game there's a moment where particularly a home team is going to have a bit of possession and a bit of a chance, and I suppose it's how you deal with it. So slightly worrying to hear that we didn't deal with it particularly well, but not pleasing that ultimately they didn't actually manage to get anything in. So it puts us. Anything else on the game particularly? Was it just one of those you want to sort of get out of the way and take your points and move on?
Yeah, it definitely one of those which looked on course to be a disappointing result, especially considering earlier results in the day elsewhere. But yeah, on reflection, a very good win, I guess.
Yeah, well, exactly. We'll take it. And what's very nice about that is it takes us into the international break with how many points that is now? I've forgotten. 16.
Yeah,
16. So, and worth noting, and we hate to mention it, but Spurs won yesterday, which, whilst it rather disappointingly keeps them as the only unbeaten team in the league, hopefully we can do. If someone else doesn't, we can do something about that soon.
Yeah.
It does mean that the gap to Man City, of course, for everyone has come down. And it was nice. It's nice to see a chink in the armour, as it were, for City, who had looked so strong. But that's interesting because they drew against. As a comparison, it's interesting actually because they drew against Celtic midweek, and then they've lost at Spurs. And this was a team that looks so good, but then they've got. I know it's not the same competition, but 1 point out of 6 in the same week. So Arsenal to not have that problem is interesting and, dare I say, hopeful comparison.
Yeah, I think Man City. This was the first time they played somebody who really pressed at them, really went for them. When they played their other big games this season, sort of United sat off, other teams have sat off, but Tottenham really went for them. Bravo, when he's on the ball, looks like an absolute mess.
Yes. Yes, which is sort of that's exactly what he was supposed to be doing though, wasn't it? I think that was why he's been brought in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
that's supposed to be his one strength, but as it is, I'd bet when we play them, I say we give Bravo the ball as much as possible and let Sanchez and Walcott run at him.
Well, that's certainly there's an idea. We can mention that to Arsene when
next time I see him,
if you ever get the chance, mention that to him. So we'll move on from the Burnley game. We'll take the points and move on. Now, obviously, we won't be back for a couple of weeks because of the international break, but let's just do a quick little preview of the game that we will come back after, if you see what I mean. And it's Swansea. Now, Swansea not having a particularly great season. They're just outside the bottom 3, if I've got that right. But this very day, they have appointed a new manager. Now, I'm not going to ask you to give us the full SP on him. But,
thank goodness.
But it's the first American to manage at the top level in Europe, I think I read somewhere. Bob Bradley. I think I've got his name right. Do we have any thoughts about what a new manager will do for a slightly struggling team at this stage in the season?
It can often have a positive effect for them, I guess, especially because he's now got an international break to work with them. I don't know how many players Swansea lose to countries around the world. But if it's not too many, that gives him a couple of weeks to make them more solid defensively, implant some of his tactics. So I think they'll be more of a threat than they were if they hadn't changed managers. And Swansea do seem to be a team we've had some iffy results with in the past.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. I remember being at a game when there was some kind of comedy. Well, I can think of it comedy now. I didn't think of it at times. Some kind of comedy own goal that Flamini was involved, possibly sort of putting it in in like the last minute or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, which wasn't promising. But yeah, so we have had problems. I mean, we should say this is a home game, so in theory we'd be favourites anyway, I think. But certainly it's the kind of game we would be hoping and expecting to win.
Yeah.
I guess we just have to wait and see. Really, we can't sort of talk too much about it now.
No, we either drew or lost to them at home last season when we had that sort of run in March or February. I guess the international break hasn't really come at a great time for us.
No.
We've built up some good momentum, but on the other hand, the players were starting to look tired, so it sort of goes both ways.
Yeah, we've lost. I've managed to find the last 5 times we've played them. We lost in March at home 2-1. We beat them away 3-0, but then we lost at home the one before that 1-0, and then lost away to them 2-1, and then drew 2-2 going backwards. So it's been quite a mixed bag. But there is a difference now in that we've won our last 5 league games and they've only got 1 point out of theirs, if I've got that right. So, I'm looking at league games, league cup games as well. But they're obviously not having a great season, as we know.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. I mean, what's interesting is after that we've then got Ludogorets, Middlesbrough, and Reading all at home. That's obviously across 3 different competitions. Well, then away at Sunderland. Well, if you're going to have an away game, Sunderland is probably the best one to have at the moment, considering
Definitely.
Away to Ludogorets, similarly in terms of the European thing. So then our next, I should say tough, they're all tough, but the next tougher game is November the 6th against Spurs, and that one's at home. So we've got a run of games coming up, as you alluded to, I think, which we should be looking to continue the momentum as long as we can pick it up again after the international break.
Yeah, for sure. A good chance with our squad depth to sort of really solidify our place in 3 competitions, which I do think we have the squad to be able to do. Each of those games are as important as any, because we've seen in the past when we lose one game in one competition to get knocked out, that can have a detrimental effect in the others.
Yeah.
And we will when we go into the Spurs game full of confidence. So, yeah, they're very winnable on paper. We need to make sure we do.
Yes, that would be lovely to go into that Spurs game full of confidence, because, again, much as I'm loath to say it, they're looking pretty good themselves and they're getting good results.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing what their fixtures are between now and then. They've got 4 away games in a row. So West Brom in the league, Leverkusen in the Champions League, Bournemouth in the league, Liverpool in the League Cup. Then they're at home to Leicester and at home to Leverkusen before they play us. So they've got tougher games to come. Obviously, they lost one of their Champions League games, didn't they, against Monaco at home, at Wembley. So they may not be able to rotate and rest as we might be able to do. So let's look for the positive signs wherever we can about that game, although we're getting ahead of ourselves. I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to talk about that next month.
Yep.
Right. The only other thing I was going to suggest was, we're going into an international break. We don't need like a full report on the team, but I think when we got to the last international break, there was an element of relief, I think, because we'd started badly, but then we're starting to pick up.
Yeah.
Obviously, since that last one, which is about a month ago, isn't it now? It's all been everything in the garden has been very rosy. So we sort of alluded to this already now. But so at this stage, we're happy with the way the season's going. I think I would be a yes. Is that where you would be at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. 2 points off the top of the league, 4 points from our Champions League group, having played our toughest game on paper, and a very good draw in the League Cup. I think pretty much all fans would have taken that. These international breaks do seem to be getting more frequent.
They do. There's more of that. I don't know why either, unless it's just for England managers to be made comfortable in their job, given how frequently they might be changing. I think there's one in November as well.
There's one in like another month's time, I think.
Yeah, so all the way between from September, October, and November. So we're going to have to see how that works out.
Yeah.
But in terms of affecting the team, or indeed hopefully not. But we'll see how it goes. It's not great to have them, but I suppose it's the same for everyone. So we'll just have to see what happens. But for the moment, then, we are happy with where we are.
Definitely,
I think so. I think it's been a good start. It's not just the results; it's the performances as well. I mean, all right, Burnley was a slight blip, but we still got the results. So we will take that. All right then. Well, on that note, I will say thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you.
And thank you for that, and thank you for everyone for listening. And we'll enjoy the international break if you can. Find something else to do. There'll be other sport to watch apart from international football if you want, or spend some time with the family perhaps. But it's just a thought. But if not, we will be back after the Swansea game in a couple of weeks, and we'll speak to you then. Take care. Bye bye.